the sheriff's deputies came to my house to arrest me again. The sheriff also, but he was down on the street, had another couple vehicles down there on the main road. Anyhow, I did some videos yesterday on it, but one got cut out and my phone died, and so I thought I would just address it this morning and talk a little bit about what is happening. The sheriff evidently has said, well, not evidently, I mean, he's pretty much said that he doesn't care about what is right or what is wrong, really. He only cares about what he's told. And he has been told by an Ada County judge to arrest me. And even though the reasoning for that is because I was very vocal and stood against those who took baby Cyrus. I of course have a voice, and I was able to reach thousands of people. I stood with the family because what was happening there was wrong. The state was wrong, Meridian Police was wrong, St. Luke's was wrong, CPS was wrong, and they believe that they could just take babies from loving parents at will, and no one should say anything about it. And so that's what's happening. And how my family and I end up here, where because we spoke out, now that, and Diego, the baby Cyrus's grandfather's in the same position as me. So they just issued a warrant for his arrest with a $25,000 bond yesterday. And again, how we end up here, it's hard to believe that the law would protect and those who, took a baby wrongfully and then come after and try to, destroy and assist those people in destroying us. How the law in this country has become so perverted that allows that to happen is hard to believe and hard to see. But it's put my family and I and Diego and his family in a precarious situation, in the sense that I know that what I did and the things I said were right and true. I know that. And I know that even more now than I knew when I said the things. And my issues were not even really with St. Luke's. St. Luke's is just the institution that the establishment is using to crush us because it's quote unquote a private institution. And so they can civilly sue us, and they're using that mechanism to really, try to make our lives miserable and destroy us and strip us from everything that we have so that we can't speak. And what did we do? All we did was speak out. All we did was speak out against what they did. And so they're saying, in essence, that, we could take your baby, we could do whatever we want with them, we could, take and make all those choices. We could use force, we could strip the baby out of the mother's hands, even when he's nursing, and we could do all these things, very wicked things. And if you say anything about it, then we're going to destroy you, we're going to take everything you have, we're going to completely turn your life upside down. So don't you dare say anything about us taking your babies. And ultimately that's what it's come. And we've got a sheriff here in Gem County who's supposed to be, this little conservative county. And basically what he's done is he's made an agreement with Ada County, which is the most liberal, wicked county in Idaho. I mean, we've got this little pocket, a lot like Portland in Oregon or Seattle in Washington. You got this pocket of liberals and actually quite wicked people. And the judges and the lawyers there have basically run a complete muck. Well, Idaho in general is a very conservative state, and you got conservative people that, love God and that understand the difference between right and wrong. And then you end up with a sheriff like Sheriff Donnie Wonder here in Gem County, who's basically just going to do whatever the people in Ada County want him to do. And so that it bleeds over from Ada County, that wicked, perverted cesspool, over into Gem County, because we have a sheriff here who has said that he's just going to do whatever the Ada County judge tells him to do. And not only that, is the sheriff's department has just recently contracted with Ada County to do their cybersecurity. I can't help but to think it's because of this case that that's happened, because just recently. So literally our sheriff here in Gem County has contracted with Ada County Sheriff to do cybersecurity. So now Ada County can spy on the people of Gem County when they're online or on their phones, and then that's the deal. Not only that, Sheriff Wonder has also refused to protect the people of Gem County against Ada County because of legal costs, legal expenses. And so he's sold the people out. And I give this to you because I have not seen any sheriff. I know there's a few out there, and I do not want to discourage those that are actually doing it, but it's so few sheriffs out there that are actually standing and saying, hey, look, this isn't right. I'm not going to enforce this. They're just doing what they're told. And so you get a wicked judge who could be in in another state or another county. You get wicked judges and lawyers, and they're doing wicked things, and they issue an order over to this sheriff over here, and he just marches to the tune. And you end up tyrannizing and causing a tremendous amount of suffering and pain when you should be protecting. And I know I'm just talking about, a couple little counties in little old Idaho, but this is happening all over. And it's because people like Sheriff Donnie Wonder and his deputies will not separate the difference between right and wrong and base their actions on right rather than on wrong. All they're going to do, and all they continue to do, is just what the judges tell them to do. Well, the judges in this country, almost from the top to the bottom, are wicked. I do believe, to be honest with you, I know this is crazy for me to say, but I actually believe the Supreme Court, on a majority, is still a pretty righteous body of judges, especially from what they've done recently in their actions. But how many cases go to them? And we've always seen where the lower judges in the districts and in the, like in our system, the districts and the circuits and in the states here, where the lower judges always become the most corrupt, wicked, and oppressive people in society. And judges are lawyers. And the destruction of the foundation of this country, of this land, is being laid by the unrighteousness of our judges and our lawyers. And they have turned our laws upside down. And I talked about this yesterday, so I don't want to reiterate it. I just wanted to emphasize to you that personally, this is a very difficult thing that my family and I are going through. And when a sheriff deputies come up here to arrest me, sooner or later, I'm going to be here. And sooner or later, we're going to have that conversation. And I am not going to go with them. And they're going to try to take me, and I'm going to defend myself. And I feel right in that. I do not feel like I should have to go back into their hands. The things that happened to me the last time, I spent 2 years in prison and I was not guilty. 2 years in federal prison, I was not guilty. Never guilty of even one charge. So how does a person spend 2 years in jail and was never guilty of a crime? But that's what happens in our country. And not only that, I don't want to go into the details because I can't give it justice by just talking about it. But the things that they did to us in there, I can't even explain it. What they did to my family and I, and especially my brother and I, because we wouldn't yield. It was very difficult, and it was very wicked. And then, Ada County has done similar things to me on a shorter period when they've taken me. I was arrested 8 times between all of the COVID stuff. And I just, I'm not going to willfully let them take me. And the sheriff should protect me because what I did was right. It's just that simple. But right and wrong do not matter in the law anymore. And it doesn't matter to people anymore from what I see generally. And I'm not speaking to everybody, but especially those in the ranks of government. It doesn't matter. Right and wrong does not matter anymore. And the law has become wrong and perverted. So therefore, there's nothing to bring people back to what is right. And so you see these things. And eventually, something's going to come to a head here. And if the people don't respond to come and protect, then the Lord will either allow the wicked to destroy me or he'll protect me. And I pray that he protects me so that I can continue to be with my family and provide for them and be the father and the husband that I should be. And but there's a great unrighteousness, evil that is mounting here in this country, and the people in general are letting it happen and doing nothing about it. And so those who are most culpable in this case are CEO Chris Roth. I mean, he's the one that has started it in the sense. I think he was talked into it because I don't think he's a very strong person, but someone talked him into it, but he has the power to stop it. And then his attorney, Eric Stidham, he's a very, in my opinion, very wicked man, and I go off of his actions. I'm not judging him. He just does wicked things. He's a wicked person. The way he acts and the things he does is wicked. And then, you have the Judge Lynn Norton. She's completely, culpable. She's gone. I was hoping that she would do what she was supposed to do and say, hey, look, St. Luke's, you can't just get away with everything. But she's just given him everything. And she's broken the law herself, her own rules. She's done several things. And so, she's extremely culpable in this. Then you've got basically those who are willing to enforce her laws, which is Sheriff Donnie Wonder. And then Sheriff has a deputy, his name is McClintock. I don't know his first name. I looked it up, but can't remember it. And he's basically always the one that comes up here. He's always the one trying to push it. And, I think he literally wants blood. Or maybe he's trying to make a name for himself, so that he could be the next sheriff in Gem County. I don't know what he's trying to do, but he's just going above and beyond. And it seems like he's even gone rogue when it comes to the, between him and the sheriff. And I say that because when the sheriff said he was out of town, McClintock then, really tried to, and also the sheriff said, he's going to be patient and he's out of town. This was over a month ago. Then, here comes Sergeant McClintock or Lieutenant McClintock and trying to push the issue and trying to, cause an issue, cause things to come to a head. And so those are the people that are most culpable in here. Again, Chris Roth, CEO of St. Luke's, Eric Stidham, the head attorney, Judge Lynn Norton. If it wasn't for them, this wouldn't be happening. Then they always have to have an enforcement arm, which is the Sheriff Donnie Wonder, and then of course his overexcited lieutenant, or I think it's a lieutenant, McClintock. And that's what it takes. I'll tell you a story before I leave, because it's just one of those prison stories, because prison was like a petri dish of life. Everything happened really fast. And then you start to realize, well, it happens out in life, but it just happens really fast in prison. Well, there was a man that came into our unit, and this was when I was in Nevada, and I was in maximum security. And I wasn't in solitary confinement at this time, but I was in the maximum security site. And so he came in and he was in a wheelchair. And he was probably, I would say he was in mid-50s. And again, he was in a wheelchair, couldn't even walk. Well, what he did, it didn't take him very long, but he started to make some type of association with a couple guys who were kind of the bigger, tougher, kind of more unruly guys in prison. And what happened is they created some kind of pact. I don't really know how it happened. I mean, it's very intriguing and very interesting. But here he is, a wheelchair guy. I don't know if he had money or what. I don't know. Influence, I don't know what he did. But he ended up getting these two guys to basically be his enforcement hand. And then he began to create like these rules in the prison that that were basically his rules, and anybody else in there, if you were white, anybody else in there that was white had to follow them. And if they didn't follow them, then he basically used these thugs to enforce and beat up and to do all the things that that he wanted them to do. And that's what happened in this maximum security prison, and it was among the white people, because it's all broken up into basically race in the prisons, which that's a whole nother story that the prisons want to happen so that there's not unity. But anyhow, so they don't interfere with that, they allow it to happen. So anyway, this guy in a wheelchair and his thugs came up to me and says, hey, we're having a mandatory meeting among the white people, the white car. And I informed him that I don't go to mandatory meetings, that they can go do what they want to do and whatever. And he said, well, this is mandatory. I go, I don't do mandatory meetings. And he goes, well, then we'll enforce it. I was like, you do whatever you want to do, And I watched how he went around and did this to people. And of course, I didn't go, and they tried to, I kind of had this issue with them. And I was like, do whatever you want to do to me. I mean, put a shank in me, whatever, but I'm not going to be under your control. And so he ended up leaving me alone, but he literally controlled everybody else in that area. And my brothers and father and stuff were not in there with me. They were in another cell, another unit. So, but I watched how he did that. And then I began to realize that this is the same thing that the judges and the bureaucrats do in our society now. They're just weak people, and they're wicked, and they enforce their own rules and their own laws that they pretty much make up. And the only way they get away with it because they have thugs, enforcement arms, like Donnie Wonder, the sheriff's department here in Gem County, or like, the Ada County Sheriff's Department. And they just enforce whatever these weak, perverted, in many cases, and unjust people issue. And so it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what the law or what is right, what is wrong. It just matters what this person says, and they have this agreement. And this agreement, in this system of injustice that we call the system of justice, basically they're all getting paid, and they all agree that they're all going to do what each other wants them to do in their pieces. And that's fine if the system is used for justice and used for correct, right principles and to make things good and right and to protect the weak and the innocent. But that's not what it's being used for. And that's not what it was used for in these prisons. It was used for control. It was used for power. And I could tell you some of the crazy things that went on because this person, enforced his laws and his rules. But I don't have time here today. I just want to emphasize to you what really is happening and how it's extremely important that we as a people who understand the difference between right and wrong, good and evil, that we still believe that there is good and evil, that there's God and that there's an adversary, and that this life is a battle between those things. Those who understand that, we have to unite together and defend each other. If we don't, then this power that doesn't understand or respect good and evil, that only respects and does what they want to do, will overpower us and is overpowering us. And it's very simple, because God will protect those who try to do what is right. He'll protect them. So we could have God's power on our side, and they won't. They just stand on their own power. But God requires us to stand together in defense and defend our families, defend our properties, defend our lives, our liberties, to defend those things. But people are not willing to. They're just willing to get up every day and go to work, make that paycheck, come home, maybe watch a little TV, go to bed, do it again the next day. And that's all they're willing to do. And that's not good enough. Not in the circumstance we're in. There has to be a unity. There has to be a standing for each other. Otherwise, the wicked will rule us, because God will not protect those who will not act for themselves first. And then he will. And it's amazing what could happen if we will just act. But we've got wicked people. I mean, just in Gem County here, the adultery and all those things that are going on right among, the sheriff and his deputies. I mean, they're not people that we could trust our liberties with. They're very weak. They don't understand evidently the difference between good and bad. And I'm not condemning people. People make mistakes. That's not what I'm saying here. I'm just saying that we have a situation here where we have literally people with guns that are willing to do whatever judges and lawyers put forth when they are very wicked people and actually very weak people. And so, anyway, I think I've made my point. I'm going to stand here. I believe that I'm supposed to stand and not yield to these people. And I'm going to do that until either that works it out some way, or they take my life, or the people protect me, or the Lord protects me. So I'm fine with any one of those. And but I know that I cannot yield, and I cannot justify the actions that they're taking against me when Diego and I did exactly what we should do in the circumstance of his little grandson, and what other people should do. So just wanted to, again, I went too far, went too long, but wanted to help you understand what's going on here, and hope you have a beautiful day, and hope the Lord is with you, and pray that if you don't feel he is, then to get your life straight, work that out, and so that he can be with you and with your family. Thank you.